Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go.
Hey, well, it's it's nice to finally meet you, Jihad. I can't tell you how much of our episodes have repeatedly come back to talking about how much of a friend you are and how he likes you better and how great and what a huge impact you've had on his life.
It's true.
So
I will say this: he didn't listen to the podcast, and I know he didn't because he did not touch my leg when I got in the
he
car.
didn't. Oh, that was yeah, okay. Well, that was the litmus test for whether or not he'd listened to the podcast.
Well, I think it was a litmus test if he was a good friend or not, and clearly he has failed.
I'm falling behind. I'm sorry.
It's pretty.
He's grabbing
pathetic.
other people's legs.
I grab other people's hands and put them on the same spot on my leg. I'm like,
I told you, both
So
my wrists
lonely.
are sore. It's hard right now to grab anything.
Always an excuse with this freaking guy. Always an excuse. Yes, dear listener, single person who listens to this who's not named Jihad because he doesn't care enough about his friends to support their endeavors. You may have noticed there is a new voice, and that belongs to Mr. Jihad Alex Sakhnini. I asked Jihad how he wanted to be introduced, and he went to AI and had AI write a thing, and he hates it. And I think for that reason alone, I'm going to read it word for word.
Oh,
I cannot wait. And I wish the listener could see both of them are wearing LA hats. I don't know if you guys, you're in the same town. You're
Was not
you're
coordinated. Yeah,
Okay.
Jihad is. So he is right there from where I am. He's upstairs.
yes.
And you guys got dressed. You like smacked each other's butts. You guys got the same LA hat, put it on each other, and you're like, we're friends. Let's wear the friendship hats today. All right.
Yes. No. So when I asked Jihad how he wanted to be introduced, I think it makes Jihad uncomfortable to talk about his accomplishments a little bit. And I think he's very proud of what he's done. I just don't think he likes the attention that comes with it. So Jihad is somebody I've known for basically my whole life. And he and I went in different directions. He went and joined the army, and he's done all kinds of crazy stuff. And Jihad, when he was in the army, was a leader. He was a ground level leader, and he did all kinds of fun stuff that I don't know how much we can or should go into. I know you did top level security stuff. You translated Saddam Hussein's trial, right?
Not his trial. The recordings that we confiscated, but that was after the army when I did like private contracting.
Okay.
Wow.
Jihad told me one time.
Like his cabinet meetings, which are either really boring, ridiculous, or really dark.
Oh, that's fun for you.
Yeah, I'll bet it would be.
Yeah. I know Jihad had top security clearance at some point. He's been all over the world doing all kinds of fun stuff. After he got out of the army, he started doing more leadership, coaching and training. He was a performance consultant in the oil and gas industry, as well as aerospace operations, cultural architect. He's worked in video games. He's worked in sports. He's worked with Web3. He's done lots of volunteer work. In fact, I'm in town specifically because Jihad is coaching a high school football team, and I'm going to watch him lead them, no doubt, to victory. Here's my favorite line from the AI thing. From the football field to the digital frontier, he spent his career helping teams achieve peak performance, and he knows that true leadership is about service, not ego.
Wow, that's amazing.
AI loves to glaze, man.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
awesome.
does.
Well,
The
I
one
mean,
thing
his
it didn't
epic-
mention, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the one thing it didn't mention, shut up, Pete, I'm talking, is that
What
Jihad
else didn't
got
it
his
mention?
master. I'm trying to say.
Well, tell us what it didn't mention.
The thing that it didn't mention is Jihad
Taylor,
got his.
Taylor.
Oh my gosh.
What didn't it mention? I just so you don't leave it out. I know what you do.
What? The thing that it didn't mention is that Jihad is the freaking worst. So the thing it didn't mention was that he has a master's degree from Penn. Did I get it in before you jumped in?
What?
Jihad has a master's degree in industrial organizational psych from Penn, which, as he always says, is an Ivy League. Jihad never lets anyone not know he went to an Ivy League school.
Nice.
There's a reason why I left it out.
There's a reason I said it. It brings me joy. Jihad is an impressive man, is the point. And I say that in full sincerity. Jihad is a very impressive man who has done lots of very interesting things. And I think, so we were going to have him on to talk about something else. And then Pete rather intelligently said, well, what if we have him talk about this instead? So today we're going to have Jihad talk to us about the concept of leadership and humility and how they interact, overlap. I can speak English. What is wrong with me today? It's this California air is messing my brain up. But Jihad will be talking to us about leadership and humility. So I think my first question for you, Jihad, is if you had to give a Jihad-approved version of the leadership experience you have, how would you describe what you've done with your life?
I would say, rather than my leadership experience, probably since I was a teenager or even younger than that, I've had the good fortune of being on great teams and having great examples, and I've always sought out to create a great team every team I've been on, whether I'm the leader, it's the formal leader, or the informal leader on the team. So I've spent essentially like my whole life seeking and creating great teams.
Or could you clarify the difference between formal and informal leadership for you?
I would say like formal leadership is like you're actually the appointed leader, right? You're ultimately accountable, you're responsible, you're making decisions. The informal leadership is fundamentally anyone can demonstrate leadership. You don't have to be in a formal position. Maybe I'm conflating leadership and management, might be a better way to distinguish it. Is everyone can be a leader, right? They can inspire action, move in a direction, inspire change amongst a group of people. But then there's like formal leadership that involves a lot of management and tactical, positional related things. But anyone and everyone can be a leader. Whether I always use the example of it could be like an assistant in the office walking by, seeing a soda can in the trash can. They pick it up and put it in the recycling bin. And maybe someone sees them do that behavior and it inspires their action. That's leadership. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like I'm in charge of these people in this budget and these resources.
I have two questions about that. Question one is, do you have a preference between formal and informal? And question two is, what do you think leadership, if you had like codified leadership, what would you say is leadership in general?
I don't really have a preference between formal and informal. There you go, new hat.
Nice.
I would say on a great team, there's very little difference. So in a great high performing team, like there are moments where people who are exceptional at like one specific thing are going to take the reins and lead the team through it. And a smart formal leader will know when to step out of the way and let them do that. But it feels almost identical. Like you're just on a team, you're on a highly functioning group of people.
Does that mean then that you think that leadership is just about a formal leadership versus informal is just a question of what you're responsible for?
Yeah, ultimately.
Accountable for, maybe, is a better word.
Accountable. Yeah.
Accountability, right? Like you're like in most organizations or most situations, ultimately there is one person that the results fall, like the responsibility of the result falls on, especially if it's a negative outcome. Yeah, that's really probably the only difference in a high performing team. In general, like teams that are still trying to figure out what that looks like, you probably need a really strong leader who can navigate situationally when to just completely command and control and when to develop and when to move people forward. Okay.
Do you have a preference between the two positions? Do you like having more accountability, less accountability?
It's all situational. Maybe I think of the example when I worked in oil and gas, the team I led, everyone on my team was older than me and had more than 30 plus years experience in their domain.
Oh, holy cow.
All subject matter experts, but maybe in terms of application of that knowledge, expertise, that was kind of my job. Like, how do we apply your expertise into a new way of performing that optimizes our global fleet? But because
that's just a matter of perspective, then it's not necessarily skill. Like you're not better.
Exactly.
My responsibility is now looking at different, like outside of just this unit. You guys worry about the widget on the doohickey. I have to worry about all the widgets on all the doohickeys.
Exactly. And so like, how do I take all of your knowledge and expertise and like guide you, like point you in that direction and let you go? Because you have all the knowledge. I just need to help you expand your perspective on what the problem you're trying to solve is. Whereas when I went to Glue, so Glue Mobile was a mobile gaming company I worked for in 2018, 2019. We got acquired by Electronic Arts. My whole team, everybody, it was their first professional job, like non-retail, non-hourly. Wow. And that was like my immediate transition back to back. Like, oh, okay, now I'm managing a team of 23 to 27-year-olds who have no professional experience. And I can't just say, like, here's the problem, go solve it. They need a little more guidance, maybe a little more structure, piecing it together, doing stuff together, more regular feedback. And so it's really just your willingness to adapt your leadership style. But it's not, for me, I don't necessarily have a preference one way or the other. I love the team. That's always been my thing. Is like, how can I make the team awesome? What does the team need? That's my favorite thing, is the team. Whether it's an experienced team, not experienced team, a mix, whatever that context.
I can imagine also that there are leaders who do not change their style, thinking that they got hired to manage or lead this team because of their style. Like, because I'm this way, they hired me to do this, so they don't change.
Yeah. No, you are 100% right. And if they're open to learning, it can be a fun and humorous transition, like when you give them that feedback. If they are not open to learning, it is generally a painful interaction and probably a short exit shortly thereafter.
I feel like that was you with EA, right? Like, you were at EA, and then your team changed, your lead changed, and you're like, this is dumb, I'm out.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily just this is dumb. I wasn't willing to play. It was no longer about the team. It was a little bit more about political internal jockeying. And what he really wanted was someone to support him to position himself to be like the next SVP of sports at EA. And I'm like, no, what I'm doing is I'm helping this team create like the best thing possible. Like, what's the best work we can do, not what's the prettiest spreadsheet and communication devices we can give to like position you to be successful, to become like the next C-suite executive. I was like, that's not the game I'm super interested in playing. And it wasn't like a hostile thing. I gave him 3 months notice, and I said, hey, like, I'll train up whoever you bring on to fulfill this role, and I'll just go do my own thing.
Which is what you've been doing ever since, right? I believe that was 2021, if I'm not mistaken. 22.
Yeah, early 22. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was right around the time I went to Miami.
Yeah.
I understand, with your background in your education, is it just that you lead teams? Like, you just got hired to lead teams? Because we're talking about
what
very
do you
eclectic
do for work?
Yeah, I'm like very eclectic type of work experience here.
I'm all over the place.
I just want to jump in real quick and say my dad is convinced that Jihad is a sleeper agent for the CIA. Every time I talk to him, he's like, Jihad's working for the CIA, and I think there's nothing I could say to convince him otherwise, which is hilarious.
If that were true, he would have gone by Alex.
Jihad's too memorable. You got to be plain Jane if you want to.
That's right.
No, so it's a fair question. I mean, I've done all sorts of things. So when that role that Taylor is talking about, I wasn't actually a culture team builder. I was the head of sports strategy and content for everything sports related at Electronic Arts that wasn't a video game. So like, how do you target fans, not just gamers? How do you expand the aperture and create experiences? And that came from I like to say my parallel career, which is when I was in oil and gas and consulting, I almost had half the year off because I worked rotation schedules similar to the crews on the rigs. And so in that half year, I just did a bunch of different things. I was a professional sports bettor for a bit with a professional poker player, a friend of mine, just to like mess around.
Oh, I remember talking about that.
Yeah. And, it was really fun, but, you have to be in the top 1% of the top 1% for it to be kind of worth the amount of time you have to put in. Even though we were plus side, I go to the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference every year, and I've been a contributor a couple of years where, just learning the latest innovations in terms of understanding how to measure output and performance. I tell Taylor all the time, the reason I love going to that conference is they're taking something I'd known and loved my whole life and giving me an entirely new way of looking at it and measuring it. And I always apply that to like everything in my life. And so like all these different things that are just interests, right? So I'm surrounded by, collectibles, things like my little Jackie Robinson Ricky Lake.
Oh, nice.
But and all these things that
He
have
held
been
up a
just
card, by the way, Jackie Robinson
Yeah, a
card.
Jackie Robinson rookie card. It's what's the rating on that card?
SGC2.
There you
So
go.
it's not nothing crazy, but like I have like all these different interests and hobbies put me in the perfect kind of conflicts of understanding of like what sports fans in a variety of categories are interested in engagement. So I took that role. But before that, I
I will say
was
too, real quick, one of the things about Jihad that I've really tried to emulate in my life is he has this natural curiosity that he never shies away from. Everything is a question, and everything about that question is interesting to him. And if it is no longer interesting to him and he wants it to be, he will find new ways to be curious about it. And so, like, among the things he collects, for example, Jihad doesn't drink, but he collects whiskey, which still is hilarious to me. Sports memorabilia. He's got a pretty impressive collection of comics, of Ninja Turtle toys that he has around his office. It's just this natural curiosity has driven all of his decisions in a way that incentivizes for the people around him, myself very much included, a desire to be curious and to be enriched by that curiosity, which I think we'll get into with his leadership style has been very useful. But I think a lot of the context of who he is and what he's built with his life is extremely non-traditional and is born completely out of, oh, what's this?
yeah. Well, and I mean, like I've had funny inflection points, but really the decision has always been like, is this interesting to me? Do I feel like I'm learning? Do I feel more energy at the end than I did at the beginning? Like all these questions I kind of ask myself, and I've just followed that. And I wouldn't recommend my career path to anyone else because it makes no sense. But I think of like there's another like inflection point, like 2011. I almost joined a Division I women's basketball coaching staff.
Wow.
What?
I got asked to be a coach on the bench at Irvine under Molly,
Oh,
and
okay. I knew that.
and I was gonna join that staff, and then I got offered the consulting job because a friend of mine was contracting in the Gulf of Mexico after the Macondo oil spill. He's like, hey, we're trying to implement the changes and the improvements based on the findings of that incident. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, it's so foreign to me. And I went to the coach and I said, hey, like I got offered this thing, but like I want to stay here. And she looked at me and she said, sports will always be here. Go do something that stretches you. And it was just like a really
that's
cool inflection. Like maybe I'm the head coach at like, Cal or something for women's basketball now. Like after 15 years, like worked my way up the coaching ladder. But I'm quite happy like that I've done. From that point, I probably visited like 50 different countries and been in like 10 different industries doing 4 different types of roles.
that coach's response though to you. That's a total coach thing to say, by the way. But I think that shows a lot of humility in that like it's not about me or what I want, always thinking about someone else. Like go do something that stretches you. That phrase is about you, not about the team or her or whatever.
Shout out Molly Goodenbauer.
Yeah.
She's the head.
Yeah.
She's actually the head coach at UCSF.
Do you ever meet up with her and hang out?
Just messages. Like life is crazy, and she's nonstop coaching and recruiting. So,
if I could, I wanted to see. I don't know Jihad very well, but I assume that he is not the poster boy for humility, but he has a lot of experience with leadership.
I think actually Jihad could be a pretty solid poster boy for humility, in all honesty.
Okay.
I think.
Well, Taylor would know.
Yeah, I would know. Thank you, Pete. Thank you. I do think Jihad is a pretty humble guy. I think in order for that to make sense, though, we should probably have some kind of working definition for what humility is in practice.
Well, if I could,
Nope.
In 2024.
Shut up, Pete.
Taylor hates it when I introduce the studies.
No, I just like the idea that you were cutting me off. I'm going to cut you off. How does it feel now, you little punk?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Plus, it was from 2024. It's a little outdated.
That number is
You're
different
outdated.
from this number.
Basically, wait. No, I'm going to quote something from 2018. So, looking into humility, this title of this one is called "The Psychological Structure of Humility" from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. There are 2 limitations in the literature dealing with humility. First, there's no clear consensus among researchers about what humility actually is. And second, that there is converging evidence. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that humility takes on two forms, which are labeled appreciative, meaning I'm humble because I like things and I see everything around me. I feel grateful. And self-abasing humility, meaning I'm humble because I suck. So those are two themes that come up in the literature about humility, but basically, as of this writing,
So like gratitude and self-deprecation, or
yeah,
Those are your
something like that.
I'm grateful for how much you hate yourself.
Oh man, you just broke the fourth wall of humility.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
I mean, so what do you
said
guys think humility is, though?
We need a working definition. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they have a lot of definitions in the literature.
In the literature, but see, this is why literature sucks, Pete, because it's inconsistent and incapable.
Literature
Studies suck. Intuition forward. Woo!
It's the humanist battle cry.
Yeah.
I mean, the two things that come to my mind when I think of a working definition of humility is willingness or allowing yourself to be receptive of others.
What do you mean, like receptive of who they are, receptive of what they bring?
Yeah.
All of it. Like if you're doing something wrong, you may not always know that. So if someone comes and gives you feedback, are you open to that feedback, or are you close to that feedback?
Oh, okay. I took you. I mean, you're saying if you meet someone, what they bring to the table, you're open to that. But you're talking about open to feedback from other people.
No, that's one example. But it's also open to somebody, right? Like if humility means like someone comes and they're strong in an area, and you're like, you notice that. Are you okay with them just showing off that strength, or do you need to try and one up them, or do you need to compete with that, or do you need to? That to me is what comes to mind, is like a willingness or an openness to receive, like to be receptive of others, whatever it is.
Someone else being better presents a threat to you somehow.
Yeah, that to me that would be a lack of humility.
Lack of humility. We've talked about that before,
pride.
I believe.
Yeah, it comes up quite a bit. What do you have a working definition that you've gone with, Pete?
For me, it was actually I was thinking about Jihad's description of leadership when they're looking down. That sounds bad, but if they're looking sideways at their team and they're looking side to side, and their focus is here at the team, and other leaders are looking up and their team is below them, and so your focus of being like somebody who wants to be somewhere else and they're going to use the team to get there or use the team to do something, versus people who are down with the team and they're looking at the team and their focus is on the performance of the team, versus leaders who are their focus is somewhere else and they're just part of this team for now.
They're pretty spreadsheets.
Yeah, they're pretty spreadsheets, and their signature block has the team on it, but that's as much citizenship as they have.
Yeah, like the team is the tool for advancement, not the tool for accomplishment together.
Yeah. I've always felt like humility, because most of my work, I don't have a lot of experience leading teams necessarily in the way that perhaps you two do. But my experience with humility and leadership has always been a question of what are the facts and how do we live appropriately in the context of those facts, just what's true. So like I tell my clients, humbly speaking, I'm good at my job, which is true. I think I am very good at my job. I'm not the only person good at my job. I don't have more intrinsic value than you because I'm good at my job, but I am actually good at my job. What I'm not good at is math. Like if you want some kind of math work done, I'm not the guy. If you want somebody who's good at building things, I'm not that guy. Pete's more that guy than I am. And so if someone came to me with that, I would defer to Pete, because humbly speaking, Pete's just better at it than I am. But my humility, the presence of my humility, does not need to exist in a way that downplays or denigrates who I am and what I bring to the table. I have strengths. I have limitations. What are they? Let's use those.
So when you say when we mention self-abasing humility, would be something about always looking at someone else doing something good and you suck because you can't do that thing. You're always
or
looking
that you
at
suck,
your
like
faults.
you can't even admit what you're good at, because that makes you can't appear to be better than anybody else, because that makes you not humble.
But also, like just what you said there, like maybe like it doesn't have to be an either or, right? You can look at yourself and look at the other person and say they're better than you at that, and you can be like you could be.
It's a curiosity again.
Or not even just curious, but you can have gratitude of like, wow, that's great. Like I have someone who's awesome at this here with me. Like let me unleash them, and then like what am I great at? What? Uh, but
That's kind of how I feel about this podcast, honestly. I feel like one of the things that Pete and I are both professional conversation havers, so the idea of talking isn't particularly overwhelming.
Yeah, it's not scary.
Yeah, but my approach to what I do is very what's the gut reaction, and like it's based on truth and evidence and science and blah 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 blah. But my general approach is how do I feel in the moment? How do I navigate the feeling that's present? And Pete's approach is very much what does the data say and how do we incorporate the data into a realistic, pragmatic outcome? And so that's one of the things that my limitation is that, and Pete makes up that deficit, and I think that's what makes talking to him so much fun about this stuff.
I think that's.
you.
Oh, sorry, and I didn't mean to step all over Taylor's appreciation of you, Peter. But it was actually interesting you saying that. It makes me think of all the times you get annoyed with me when I lead with data in some powers.
Yes. Oh man.
And so because I feel like I'm a little bit of a mix. Like I'm like I have some decisions that I can't tell you why I made them other than a feeling or curiosity, and then others that are just very like this is what the data says. These are the numbers. This is the best decision possible with the given information.
I think there's a difference, though. I can speak to that, right? So I think when Pete is doing this, he has data, but it's always a combination. I think when you have data, there are times you make decisions where like the data says this, literally nothing else matters. I'm like, no, that's not true, though. There are feelings that are very important in this conversation. That's what bothers me when Jihad's like, like what we should do is like, we should burn this house down because it'll be better for the earth. I'm like, wait. But no, I have feelings about it. It's like, no. Look at the data. The data says this. Why are you upset about this? You're killing me.
Oh man.
A difference. I want to highlight that difference. Thank you for your curiosity.
I'm going back and forth like you like psychologists who work with hoarders. Like, how much do you love this National Geographic magazine from 1974? And the hoarder is like, I must have it. I might need it. And you hear Jihad's like, let's burn your house down. And you're like, but it has my stuff in it.
And I'm like, no, we just get rid of the one thing. And Jihad's like, but scientifically speaking, if we look at the numbers.
Ashes are so good. But that happens all the time in therapy, too, when you're meeting with somebody and you're trying to work off of cognitive behavioral therapy. You're trying to follow some established model. Yeah, the modality. And then they say something completely off the wall. And you're like, you know what? That's not going to work. And it becomes an art form. And it's really annoying. Because they don't stay with the program.
That's where all the work is, man. That's the juice.
Yeah, it is. It is where all the work is. So they get quiet one day and then they reveal some trauma or something like, oh, I guess we're in trauma now.
And I think that's why I like not doing the data first approach. I have a master's degree. I've earned it. I've been licensed in several states. Clearly, I know what I'm doing from a data standpoint. And when people come in from a purely like doing the work standpoint, they're not coming in because the numbers don't add up. They're coming in because it feels bad.
Yeah, that's true. Like especially things. Those lead to aha moments. Like with sleep, it happened a lot. When someone comes in and says, "I don't sleep," and then we go through their life and how are you eating? What are you thinking about? How much caffeine do you have? Like what's happened to you recently? And then we write it down. We're like, so does any of that like? No wonder you're not sleeping. That kind of thing.
I love those because then they always go like, oh, I didn't think about this incredibly obvious thing that was right in front of my face the whole time.
When you're in it, you're in it. You're not going to see it.
Yeah, that's true. I can see. Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, I can see the back of your head if you turn around, but you can't.
Now you're making me want to.
I've never seen my ears.
What it looks like, Jihad, is a lack of hair.
Oh,
in case and like fat rolls.
That's his brain.
No.
It's just oozing out the back.
Yeah, it's growing bigger.
It's definitely fat.
Jeez. And yeah,
we're very good friends.
People like Taylor
He's gonna
help you stay humble.
So hard upstairs. Good to see you, man. Thanks for the conversation. Boom.
I'll just let Arlette chew on you.
Who's
Arlette?
Arlette?
Is his dog.
Oh, okay.
She's a Rottweiler. Super friendly,
good.
lovely.
I'm glad we established that.
His wife's name is Kate.
Okay. Wait, his wife's name is Kate?
Kate,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So my wife's name is Katie, Katy. Your wife's name is Kate, and Taylor's name
is
Taylor's wife's name
Cat.
Cat.
Sensing a pattern. See, the numbers indicate that if your wife is named some form of Catherine,
You'll
you've
end
made
up
the
on
right
this
choice.
podcast.
That's right. That's
You'll
right.
end up on this podcast.
Which is weird because Kat was on this podcast and her wife is not named Kat.
Where were we?
Which what? The question.
I think it was on defining humility.
Yes,
We're
we've
defining
defined
humility.
humility. Now,
Okay.
so go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted
So
to
I got the
talk.
question.
I hate you so much.
It's not very fun, is it, Pete?
Gosh. Never mind. Go.
Go ahead. No. After you. I insist.
All right. So, defining humility doesn't necessarily mean that you.
So the other thing I was going to say though was that if
I
we
hate him so much.
I will stop for real.
Okay. So my mom taught me when someone gives you a compliment, you don't say "I know" and you don't say "No, I'm not." You just say "Thank you."
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, you don't totally ignore the things that you're good at or the facts that are present. You can just say "Thank you" and you can appreciate them. In terms of power, leadership can come from, I think, 3 different places. In leadership, you can be the appointed leader, the formal leader that Jihad mentioned, where you're just given the title. So you are the official leader. You can have a leader by expertise. You know the job better than anyone else. And so people follow you because you know they're always asking this guy. And so you're the informal leader. Or you're a leader because of personality. You're the type of person that people want to be. And so people follow you because they just want to be like you. And therefore, you can have a lot of power without being a formal or established leader. So how can you, if you know that you are better at this thing than an appointed leader, especially a really oppressive appointed leader, what is the use of humility? How do we know we have more power than this guy, and there are ways to cut your leader's legs out from under them if you have more power than they do.
And not just your leader too, but like how do you undercut your team? Like what is the purpose of humility in leadership if leadership is a question of power and humility is a question of acknowledging a lack of power?
I would even argue in that example, you have more skill, not necessarily more power.
Can you differentiate that?
Like you have more skill, right? You're not like you have the ability to do this better than anyone else, but you may not have the power to actually collect resources and go do it. Like to direct resources to say this is the thing we're going to work on and how we're going to work on it. Like power is like a fundamental like control structure, right? Like do you have the power to authorize spending $50,000? That's like a power you have or you don't have. I don't think that's necessarily like a personality trait, if that makes sense.
Okay. No, that's not a personality trait. That is an on and off switch. Do you have control over a situation? And people who are informal leaders do have control. They can incite bad attitudes, malicious compliance. Just do absolutely everything the formal leader says with no added input and don't contribute anything, and it will fail because that guy is not an expert. You are.
I can't help but notice we had a conversation about optimism and pessimism before, and Pete talked about the leaders that he'd had. Some of them, the best leaders, were like the least optimistic. And it's interesting to me that Jihad was talking about informal leadership as I can ennoble this thing by putting this in the recycling. Now I was like, oh, we should put this in recycling. And Pete's like, I can use my informal leadership to destroy.
Okay, yes. I might have been influenced by
Well, it's an interesting question, and I think in a lot of companies they probably use the language of engagement, right? Or quiet quitting. Like
exactly.
A person has like that skill, but they're not being recognized for it, leaned on, their voice isn't heard. You know, they kind of phone it in. Whatever, I'll just do what you say. I know it's not going to work. And tough, it's on you when it fails. The unfortunate part of that whole dynamic, right, is it's kind of on everybody when it fails. That it sticks to you. That's actually like been my experience. Like that one, the narrative side of it sticks to you, but then also the muscle memory of it sticks to you. You start to forget how to be a good teammate, how to be a good follower, or how to demonstrate leadership when you're not in a leadership position. You feel like the only way you can do it is by being the manager.
Well, that brings up an interesting question for me, which is if you have a team and you have people who are trying to exert some kind of leadership or control in the way that they can, is there a point at which it crosses over where you're like, hey, I need you to just stay in your lane and stop trying to influence these things outside of it? And if so, how do you delineate that line?
Well, and Taylor, if you don't mind, maybe note that question down before I answer it. I just love to like know, Pete, like where were you imagining like yourself? Where were you trying to go with that question or that example?
Of where power and leadership come from, or how to use that. I'm
Or
wondering.
like how to navigate somebody who's more skilled but they're like not engaged and just I think you use something to the effect of like something with compliance. I can't remember the
Oh,
exact
malicious
phrasing.
compliance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
malicious compliance.
So I commissioned at ROTC as a lieutenant and was given an aircraft maintenance unit of like master sergeants who've been in for 15, 20 years and senior master sergeants. And as a lieutenant, I had a senior master sergeant and two master sergeants, and I was in an armament shop handling bomb racks and guns. And all of them knew everything, and I'd just gotten out of school with a biology degree and gone through ROTC. And so this idea that like they want me to make decisions seemed absolutely ridiculous to me. It seemed like
Yeah.
you have competent men who've been in the field for years here. Why do you need a young lieutenant making any kind of decisions for this shop? And I'd been taught, you get it drilled into your head in school, leadership, leadership, leadership. You lead, you make decisions, you lead, lead, lead in the team and how you correct people and everything. And I'm thrown into reality where I'm leaning on people all the time. I'm desperate for help for these
Yeah.
people who are experts. And I felt an incredible power differential between what I'd been taught, you will come in, you will lead this organization, and what was reality, which is you're just barely hanging on. And these guys know, they will tell you what to say. They will tell you what meetings to go to. They will tell you when something is wrong. And so I felt like it's kind of disingenuous to say that you have, even though you're the formal leader, you have all this power. Because honestly, as a new leader, I really honestly didn't. If I went to my ops officer or middle management and I said, "Hey, I want to fire this master sergeant. He's not doing well," they would have been like, "Are you kidding? No, like no, absolutely not." So I really didn't have power, especially as a new leader. Maybe
You
that's
did, though,
because,
didn't you? You didn't, maybe not as much as you thought you deserved, or you didn't know how to
well,
wield it, but you had the power.
maybe not power over middle management. I'd go out and I'd talk to the young airmen, like the young enlisted people, and it would be like, "No, we're coming in on the weekend," and everyone had to. Like that would be, I could make that decision with the master sergeants, cooperation if they were all okay with it for whatever reason. I think that the big difference is that the buck stopped with me. If something's going to go wrong in armament shop, it was me getting called in,
Yeah.
not the master sergeants. That was the difference, which felt really imbalanced because I didn't know what was going on. Everything I said was what they told me.
Yeah. What's at least to me, what's interesting about you sharing that is I guess I don't hear a power imbalance. Like at least for me, and that's probably why I don't succeed in very political organizations. um, and and it's not it's just because I don't like playing that game, but it's what you were describing to me. Yes, you were probably told like here's like the standard view of leadership, and then you came in and you're like, oh, reality's a little different as a lieutenant, or it
Yeah,
changes when I
exactly.
get to, oh, it's a little different when I'm a major, oh, it's a little different when I'm a, whatever, like as you move up the chain, but you still had to be willing to collaborate with that experienced crew and lead the more junior crew, right? Like, without that willingness, like you have no power. Like to me, that is power. Like the
So you're saying
willingness to
that the
come.
feeling of desperation and reaching out for help constantly is the power.
Yeah, like if you didn't do that, you would have sank, right? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, by like doing that, you gave yourself the power to not sink, the power to like move forward.
I
That's what
guess
it sounds like to
I
me.
guess the perception of when I think of leadership, I think of somebody who is an expert who can make decisions even when contradicted by their middle management, and they will
Yeah,
say, "No, we're going to do this, and it'll be a good decision despite what other people say."
yeah. That's one
But
person.
that was not reality. Reality was not like I came in as an expert who can make executive decisions.
Well, I mean, I feel like we like to lionize or glamorize like the singular visionary leader.
Yes, that's what
You know,
training does. Yep, it
like
does
you
that.
see, like, oh, like the visionary, like this is we're General Patton, we're Steve Jobs, we're whatever. Like media, entertainment, like the one guy, like he just sees what no one else sees, and everyone just falls in line and goes in that direction. That's 1% of leadership.
Yeah,
There's like 99 other good, just as important versions. Those people have one key on the keyboard. You got to play
that
other
is true.
keys. That's my view. Is that's why I was just curious. Like when you were sharing that, is it sounds like you had an experience, but like it doesn't sound like you failed in that experience by any means.
No, I didn't fail. It was just really
Different.
different than what you expect. That's exactly right. You hit it on the head when we idealize the singular leader, the strong leader, and that's what I came out of school with. Cadre members, my teachers, who had said, "No, you guys should never be looking at the ground. You are members of the United States Air Force. You will hang your head." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like we're going to be leaders." And then I come out and like, "You don't know anything."
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you had mentioned being part of the team versus the singular leader. And this is the 2024 study, Leading with Humility, Servant Leadership on Knowledge Sharing. And it talks about how servant leadership impacts the team's willingness to share knowledge among themselves. The findings of this study in 2024 indicated that servant leadership has a positive association with knowledge sharing, and it's strongly mediated by what they called organizational citizenship behavior, which is we kind of hit on a lot up to this point. Organizational citizenship behavior,
Could you do me a favor,
meaning,
Pete?
yeah,
Could you just like tailor that down? Just make it the dumbest
yeah,
version of what you just said.
OCB, organizational citizenship behavior, meaning if you are a leader and you are the formal leader, you do not act like you are on an ivory tower. You're in the trenches with everyone else, and you're asking questions. I guess didn't look at the definition of their citizenship behavior, but you kind of get the feeling of like I'm a part of this team. I am not the team.
Yeah.
And
You're
that
part of
leads
this
to
community, the
part of a
company, right?
community. That's right.
Yeah.
So it goes back to what I was talking about. Is your focus outside of the team, or is your focus around the team? Are you a citizen of this team? Are you a part of it now? This is you, or are you just here for a while and you're actually moving on? And it fostered trust, positive feeling. I mean, just overall positive experience with team was, does the leader exhibit citizenship behavior and not executive behavior?
Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of points back to the question that I asked earlier that Jihad asked me to pause on, which is when you're within a communal team experience and everyone is trying to lead in the way that they can, and there's always going to be kind of, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there always is kind of like a hierarchical power structure to leadership where there is some kind of accountability to somebody who is above you or who has more, who can say if you did it right or wrong. Is there a point at which there's too much communal leadership going on and you need people to just shut up and do what they're told? Is there a point where people do more harm than good by trying to communally lead? Or is that a question of leadership deficit at the top? So that's question one.
Ooh.
Yes. At least my. No, I mean,
Yeah.
Next question,
like,
please.
no, I mean, what I've seen is there are new leaders who can bury themselves with trying to be nice and trying to be friends with their team.
Mm-hmm.
And there are leaders who bury themselves by trying to step on their team. And there's like those are like the absolute extremes, but there's successful leaders navigate like just a touch before like being just friends and saying, "Oh, can you do this? If it doesn't, if it's okay with you, and like do this or you're fired." Like just in between that.
Yeah.
And I think you can get away with the command and control, like, hey, there's a crisis. We need things to get done. Hey, can you do this first? You do this. You guys do this. We're going to reconvene this afternoon. Like those moments, you can be successful as a leader if you've made the deposits of actually listening to them and leaning on them in the moments where it's not a fire drill, right? But that also requires you to be decent at prioritization. There are other skills involved so that your team doesn't always feel like it's in crisis.
Is that a skill then? Like, you're talking about personal investments. You're having a relationship where you talk about the weekend with people.
Yeah.
how was your weekend, and you make
It
that
is a skill.
investment in the person.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was wondering, is humility then a skill, or is it a personality trait then? Are you good at this and it's a tactic, or are you good at this because you like doing it? Not you personally, but I mean,
I mean, I would love to hear both of you share and answer that, but I would imagine that some people are better at it than others naturally, but anyone can learn to be curious about others. Like, and I'm not even talking, and just to clarify, like, I'm not talking about just to get to know them as people and what they do outside of work. That's an important piece too, but also get to know them in terms of what they're good at work and
but
what they
if
like
one
to
of
do.
those, sorry,
Yeah.
if going back to what Taylor had said,
What
if
I was going to
somebody,
say though is that if we were to, oh, I'm sorry, Pete, were you talking?
I'm really bad at this. I'm sorry. You give me a mic, and I think it's
No,
my show.
this is entirely me being super petty and just being a dick.
Okay,
That's
I get
all I'm doing.
excited when you guys are talking, and I'm like, oh, I got something, and so
No, you've been
I'm sorry
great,
for
Pete.
stepping
In
on folks.
full honesty, there's no stepping on it. This is literally me just calling back to you guys talking over me at the beginning.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Going back to what Taylor said about how much informal leaders can step on the formal leader before it gets too long. Like how if you're doing that personal investment, there is a risk unless you can artfully tailor it down. Sorry, artfully
No,
like pull it back, that you don't go
tailored
too
down is
far into
appropriate.
your personal life as a leader, and somebody starts talking about too much personal stuff. Then you walk out of the room and you're like, no, we're not buddies. I just wanted to know how your weekend was.
I kind of want to speak to that a little bit too, because this is something that comes up in therapy a lot. Like there is a necessary boundary for therapeutic work to take place, and a leadership, I think, is very much the same. You have to have some separation has to exist, because if it doesn't, then there's an invitation to overstep what needs to happen. Like if my therapy clients come into my office and they're like, "Hey, we should hang out on the weekend," if I say yes to that, I run the risk of completely undermining all the work that we've done by doing something that's not worthy of their trust. And then it's gone. And like, how do you come back from that kind of destruction? That's kind of a big, silly example, but there are lots of little ways. Like when you're talking to a client, and again, like this is the same with leadership, there are things that I hold back because they're just not relevant to their understanding of who I am and what I'm doing to help them with what they're going through.
Yeah.
There needs to be some kind of not mystery, but a boundary or a barrier between what I give people that I'm working with and helping them solve problems. They can't have full access to me because if they do, my leadership suffers as a result.
Full access to me. That's a good way to put that. You care more about them than about necessarily them feeling good, like having a fun weekend with you. You care more about them than that weekend.
And that's what I was trying to highlight is like that's the extreme version of a no. Like it's not beneficial for any leader, no matter how skilled they are, to get that far on the edge of friend. Right? You can create friendships and create long lasting relationships, but there's some level of modeling you have to do as a leader in terms of like this is the acceptable level of
Closeness.
Closeness in this meeting, right? Or in this context. Like maybe the context changes, they go to a different team. Maybe the context changes, you go to a different company.
Or
But
therapist.
exactly.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But like in this context, this is the appropriate level of interaction.
I think then what you're saying is kindness is not the same as humility. You can say, I don't want to talk about that, and still be a humble therapist. You're not better than they are, and just refuse to get close to them. That's right.
Yeah.
Just reading a post from a therapist support group that I'm in that said her one of her clients just admitted to being in love with her. They'd worked for 9 months together, and
The technical term for that is
you.
erotic transference. You're welcome.
Transference. That's right. He said
No,
it's
erotic transference. Specifically,
Erotic?
if there's erotic.
Okay.
You've never heard that term, erotic transference?
No, I just know transference.
What is erotic? Is that even a thing?
No, that's why I was confused.
I'm feeling so erotic right now.
No, I thought it was something like asexual.
No, erotic transference is when the client develops feelings for a therapist based on their understanding of who they think the therapist is, as opposed to them falling in love with you as a person. And erotic countertransference is when a therapist develops a crush on a client for similar reasons.
Yeah. But that when you get too close, what is the boundary? And you can be a humble provider and say, "Oh man, if that would undermine our relationship, I'm afraid I'm going to have to refer." that's understandable. You develop these feelings for me because you're opening up to me, but it's not real. It's not
For some inside
approach
baseball,
it.
I don't think that's necessary. I think you can absolutely work through erotic transference with a client without having to transfer them out, as long as they're respectful. If they're just saying like, "Hey, I recognize I have a crush on you," you can work with that. If they show up with flowers and like start taking their pants off, then you're like, "Okay, the line has been crossed." But again, if you approach it with like a humility of this is just a fact that you're giving me, we can work with this fact, and some curiosity, it's very manageable, and you don't have to fire a therapist or a client for that reason.
Well, I'm just happy I don't have to make that decision. I think they decided that they were going to refer the client, but have a termination session with them first. But this lines up with leadership in general. Is how close do you have your team to build personal investment with them, so you can draw like a bank account. You put in, and so that when you all have to work on the weekend, they trust you that you don't hate them or you don't care about them because you've invested so much.
Punitive.
So you can draw on that personal interest that you've made. You can draw on it, and when that bank account starts to go negative, you can tell. But how you can tell, I don't know. That's kind of the art of leadership.
I mean, the thing is, those deposits in the bank account, it doesn't have to be what you did on the weekend or what's going on at home. Like, it can be those things too, but it can also be a big part of us is the things we've learned, the things we're good at, the things we've developed, the things we want to learn, the things where we want to go in our career. You know, like our careers and the skills we have and have attained in our careers are a big part of who we are as people. And as a leader, you can take an interest in those things, guide them, develop them, nurture it, unleash them when it's something that they're good at. If there's something they're terrible at and someone on the team loves it, you can start reallocating responsibilities. So people are doing more of what they love and are interested in, and then spending some time on the areas they want to develop and less on the things that just completely drain the life out of them.
I think you bring up a good point there too, which kind of needs to be highlighted, which is good leadership is ennobling across the board, not just in a very specific subset.
Yeah, that's
like
a good
people who have
point.
impacted my life the most through their leadership. I think about like church youth leaders, the Jihad, like Curtis Chubbuck, what that man did for me was not because he's like, let's talk about Jesus. I mean, we had those conversations and they helped form my relationship with religion as a concept, but he would show up at my house and like help me with things. Or he would say things in church I could take that were not religious, that had application. And I was able to become a better version of myself across the board because his leadership was consistent and good, and I trusted him.
Have you ever shared that with him?
I can't remember the last time I talked to Curtis. I would probably be well served to do that, I think.
And that's like that coach that you talked to. What's his name? Coach Gutenbaum or
Gutenbauer?
Gutenbauer.
Wow, I thought you were just making up a fake name. I paid close attention, clearly.
I'm writing that down. It's good advice for me to take because I imagine that people like that would just appreciate like hearing. It's just like a little bright spot in someone's day. Hearing like, oh, you made an impact on me.
Absolutely, you put in that personal investment. I was running defense for Taylor because you called him out for talking to Curtis, so I just mentioned that coach for you.
Yeah, no, it's great.
You're welcome, Taylor.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Pete. I will say that, like, for me, the money of a therapist, well, it's the money. But outside of the actual physical money is, like, when I get letters or notes or even just, like, a thank you, that is the best. People who say, you've changed my life. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the best. Just the best. There's a question I asked earlier. It was a two-parter. We got through the first one. The second question was, this is about too much informal leadership taking place within a team setting. If you are in a position where you have to cut it off, where there's too much people overstepping bounds and taking too much responsibility, how do you recognize that and how do you enforce that?
The quickest way I would say to recognize it is what the output of the team is. Generally, if you have a bunch of people pulling in different directions, the output either slows down or becomes non-existent or not desirable, not as good. Mm-hmm. And so when that output ceases to be kind of what the expectation is, that's a great way to reframe the team. You pull everyone together saying like, hey, something has kind of shifted over the last couple months. This seems to be the result of that shift. How can we get back? Like, how can we refocus and like start pulling in the same direction? Mm-hmm. Like, to me, like that it's like the simplest way. It's not the only way because like there's a lot of factors into how it happens in a team. But the simplest way is just look at the output. A team that's doing that's like kind of going over each other, pulling in different directions, the output is going to significantly change.
I think this leads me to another question I have, which is kind of tying all of this together. If we've been talking about humility and we've been talking about leadership, what role, if any, does humility play in leadership? Does it actually accomplish something to be humble? And what is that accomplishment?
Not to deviate from, I guess, necessarily the core goal of the show, which is humility and leadership, is I've often said to myself that I've been trained and I've seen a lot of trainings that try to help people become better leaders, right? Like,
and you've conducted them too.
Yeah, I've conducted them too. I've also seen trainings that help you become better at what you do, like performance type trainings. And in some sense, those trainings also are meant for you to be like better followers, right? Like, how do you do this within a context of a hierarchical organization? But one thing I've always seen lacking in people's development as adults, like as they grow, is how to be a good teammate. Like, and I've often used the word with like my teams. I call it teammateship instead of leadership or followership. I just don't. Learning how to be a great teammate will make you a better leader, and humility is a core part of being a great teammate. And when you're on those teams, like, you continually get opportunities to practice being receptive to others. Like, it forces you, like, you will not be a good teammate if you do not practice and refine your humility.
Ooh.
You know, it's interesting that you kind of couched that by saying that you felt like you didn't want to take away from the core goal of this, which is humility and leadership. But I think you didn't. And in fact, I think you actually really made the best point of all, which is that true leadership is not about having power that you exert, but it's about working together with people to accomplish something. And you have a specific set of responsibilities that you need to be responsible for.
And honestly, as we're talking, more often than not, people conflate management and leadership. Management is a technical skill, and that's a technical job. Like, how do I manage priorities and resources? And resources are time, money, people, equipment, you name it, right? That's a technical job, and there are actual forms, functions, procedures to follow in doing those things. If you are good at doing that and you know how to be a great teammate, it's generally going to model itself as like be a great leader amongst your peers. Now you're a technical manager with leadership skills. There you go. Like, now you're a great leader. I think that's often why, like, I kind of avoid like all the leadership topics in the training. I'm not a huge fan of them. It's like they spend so much time talking about leadership when somebody just needs some manager training because they're drowning. Like, how do I actually manage my priorities? How do I manage a budget?
People talk about it the other way, like you're being a great manager, but you suck as leadership. But it's true, it can go the other way. Like, you can be a guy who's all in it with the team, and you don't know about the triplicate form that needs to be filed every week.
Yeah, and it erodes, but it also erodes trust with your team, because now the team looks bad because you're not doing the things you need to do, and the team's getting dunked on by whatever. But yeah, I feel like I've just seen that when I go to different companies and I see their trainings. Is their management training focuses on leadership skills, which it's not to say that's wrong. It's just when you conflate the two, you lose the value of both as independent skills.
There was an example of this to talk about, like, what happens when the informal leader takes over. In 1942, General MacArthur was in Japan with his aide and his wife, and he learned from the radio that he had been fired by President Truman. President Truman had coordinated with some people, but basically MacArthur had been undermining.
Wait, President Truman wasn't president in 42.
Taylor, don't ruin the story.
Sorry, that was President Roosevelt.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong date. He'd been with the general in the Philippines. Sorry. Anyway, the point is, when he was fired, Truman said
In
that he's not.
1938.
Yeah, whatever. Dang it! Now I got to read it. Okay. In
I'm
1951.
intrigued.
Sorry.
I'm intrigued.
I was reading the wrong history. He had done something in 1942, but he was fired in 1951. So President Truman wasn't very popular. He
Did you know
consulted
that
with some
Truman was
aides.
president in 1951?
Wow, that's really
That's
fortuitous.
amazing.
I'm glad that I'm
Yeah.
right about that one.
There you go. That's cool.
He had sent a letter to General MacArthur because he kept undermining the president in public about his political policies and speaking bad about him in public, undermining his leader, even though he was right. So President Truman wrote him his relief, effective immediately relieved of all your duties. But MacArthur didn't hear about it until the radio hit. The commercial radio broadcast hit Japan radio, so he actually heard about his own relief from the radio before he got the official letter. And Truman said, "It's not that he's wrong; he just won't stop being right in public."
What a great quote.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. It was like, if I'm the leader of this team and one of my teammates keeps dogging on the team over and over, what does that do for the trust of the people or the trust of your organization? If one of your team members who's right doesn't come to you and say we need to correct, they go outside the team and they say this team sucks or this team leader sucks, then what are we supposed to do? Because he's the leader. You're not going to change that immediately. So it's just dangerous. It erodes trust.
Yeah, it just hurts that it doesn't help your teammates or help you.
Exactly.
It's a strange approach.
I was going to say, I feel like there's an important point in there, too, is that a lot of people want to be self-sustaining and not important, but it's like, I'm right, I know I'm right. And in this case, he was right and was acknowledged to be right. But there's no loss in being part of a team. It's not that it takes away from your capacity or your strength. Being part of a team is not a step down from being a leader. I mean, Jihad's made a really great, I think, case for that idea. Being part of a team is an opportunity to lead, just not in the way that you get to be the final buck. You don't get the final say, but you are still very much leading. You're still very much making decisions that impact other people, and you are designing outcomes through your choices, which, if that's not leadership, I don't know what it is. And Jihad just disappeared there, so I guess he was really offended by everything that I just said.
Yeah, we invited him to talk about leadership, and here we are. We're stepping on him, I guess.
I'm out of here. Screw this. I'm out of here.
Well, I want to see him thump downstairs and just appear on your screen.
I'm listening for the...
Yeah, exactly.
It's coming. Well, I mean, I feel like...
I do notice how Jihad's perspective, though, is about inside the team. Every time he talks, he's talking about how can the leader help the team, because he is just, if anything, he's the representative. I mean, is he the guy who makes executive decisions? Yes, because he's the one who's going to get in trouble. But I think he and I agree on the whole personal investment thing. You have to have people trust you on a personal level before they trust you on a professional level.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And that was me texting Jihad and Pete to see if Jihad wanted to come downstairs.
I'll come.
Yeah, come on downstairs, Pete. It'll be fun.
Ah, man. It's this close to buying a ticket to California. I
know, man. What a bummer. The thing that I wish that it's kind of a bummer that he just dropped out like that. I kind of wanted to give him a chance to say what he's doing and how he's doing it. Okay, I can do this in 5 minutes. Give me 2 minutes to run upstairs and yell at him real quick.
All right.
Right back. Tell that one joke you know.
Oh, man. Okay. So there was, so my favorite knock-knock joke. My favorite knock-knock joke is probably interrupting cow. Knock, knock. Who's there? Interrupting cow. Interrupting. Oh. That's one of my favorite. Or another one of mine is, hey, you want to hear a really good, my favorite knock-knock joke, Jihad?
I do.
All right, you start.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who? Wait, I'm confused. Wait, you said you start.
That's my favorite one. That's my favorite one.
That's great. I was like, wait, hold on. Why am I starting?
I would just like to say real quick. So So
he's
Jihad,
back.
you disappeared. I'm back. You disappeared. And I was like, okay, I'll go upstairs and I'll see. I told him to tell a joke. And Pete, who was on a podcast with literally nobody, he goes, I know, I'll tell a knock-knock joke.
Did you hear the knock-knock joke?
I did. It was interrupting cows. So not only was it a knock-knock joke, it was one that was necessary to have somebody else respond so you could interrupt them. That was the joke. He's like,
Yes.
I'm by myself. This is the joke I'm going for.
And then Jihad popped on, and I told my second favorite one.
That was pretty good. I actually heard it. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was good.
Oh, good. Okay.
So we have like 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
I do want to give Jihad a chance to, I don't want to say like, maybe this will make him uncomfortable, but do you want to like tell people how to reach out to you? Because you're very good at what you do. And this is, in fact, at least a small part of what you do is leadership and management training, which I think Pete and I also do. If you want to contact any of us for this stuff, but Jihad, if someone wanted to reach out to you and talk to you more about what you do, how you do it, and how you could be useful to their organizations, how would they do that?
They can email me at jihad@therindgroup.com.
You going to spell any of that?
JIHAD at therindgroup, THERYNGROUP
Yeah.
.com.
There you go.
Rin is from the way my wife spells Catherine.
Oh, there you go. It just permeates
okay.
through everything.
It's
Good
an
callback.
it's an RYN. Catherine. I'm sure everyone
I
has a
don't think
different
I knew
Catherine.
that.
Yeah.
Rin Group LLC. That one?
That's the company?
No, I don't think we're a corporation, so that might be a different company.
LLC it literally means corporation. It's a limited liability corporation.
Oh.
No, it's okay. I'm just Googling it.
Oh, Jihad is being Googled by Pete. Pete's Googling him.
Oh, there you are. You're on LinkedIn. Okay, I see you.
There we go. Yeah, I can say from personal experience, Jihad is very knowledgeable at what he does. And if you have any issues with leadership or training or basic work structure question, Jihad is very talented and adept. So we're coming up on time. Pete's got to run.
Yes,
Jihad
I got to run.
Is going to ruin this too. But real quick before Pete goes, we have the next couple episodes. We're going to do a series, and the series is going to be on living a balanced life. And so we have 3 episodes coming up, each one focusing on one core component of that. First is going to be, I should know that before I say that. It's going to be something. Anyway, the point is, we have a series coming up. And it's going to be real good, and I think you're going to enjoy it. The three pillars are
educational pursuits is the first one, then creative pursuits is the second one, and then physical pursuits is the third.
Yeah. So things to look forward to. Jihad, thank you so much for being on here and listening to us and talking with us. And
yeah, it's wonderful seeing you. God.
Our one listener will be so thrilled to finally know what you sound like.
Yeah, it's nice to see you finally listen to a podcast, Jihad.
I heard this whole one.
This one, yeah. Well,
I got the B-sides too.
You tried to jump out of it at the end, but you got most of it, I think.
Yes. All right, man. Well, good seeing you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, you too. See ya. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.